Are you all afraid to sit on the front row? That if I splash or spit on you or something? Well, it's great to be here. I just finished a grueling week at Education Week last week. It was just crazy. Oh my God. Anyone was there? Yeah. It was those weeks, no one has a clue what it's like. I was thinking, I went to a class, I went to one of the other classes and I thought, what must it be like to just walk in, set up your computer, teach a class, and leave? Because my class, I mean, I prepare weeks before, and then when I get up there, I have to leave taking class at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon to go prep and get everything together. Then we have to haul all this stuff up there and haul it back. And then we're there an hour after everyone leaves to clean up from the cooking class. And it's like, what would it be like? It's my own fault, but what would it be like? But anyway, it was really fun.
There was more people there than I've ever seen.
It was pretty, yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was crazy, and we just leave totally exhausted, and yeah, and we're still going. I get to go home Friday. Tomorrow, my boys, our house has always been open over the years, and anyone who wants to can come in and eat. And one of my sons, he would knock on my door like 10:30 at night and say, "Hey, Pops, I got some of my girls out here. Can you come out and feed us?" I was like, okay, whatever. I'd go out there and there'd be like 15 boys waiting for dinner. Well, they affectionately call me Chef Dad. And so I got a call the other day from one of the boys' mother, and she said, "This is Diane." She said, "Brock he just told me, Chef Dad is in Utah sometimes. Can you please call him and see if he's going to be up here for my wedding so we can fix our luncheon?" And so she called me, and it just so happened I'm here tomorrow, so I'm fixing his luncheon tomorrow, and he's so happy that Chef Dad is cooking for him. So I still have really not a clue what I'm cooking for them, but I just told him, "You're going to have to trust me on this one." And then the other day, I hadn't met his bride-to-be yet. The other day we were walking through the mall and ran into him, and I said, "I'm still on cooking," and she said, "Everyone just told me to trust you," so it's all good. So we'll see what I come up with tomorrow. It should be a lot of fun. So
where do you live?
I live in Mesa.
Only Mesa?
Mesa, yeah,
Oh,
Mesa,
your
Arizona.
set looks like Chicago or New York.
Yeah, no, I live in Mesa. So. Oh, yesterday we just filmed our sizzle for our new cooking show that we're going to be doing. There's a new. Are y'all familiar with Candlelight Productions? They do films like Rigoletto and the One Scene with Angels, the film they just did with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. They're a great company. They're actually launching a new TV station. It's a family-friendly Netflix-style station. It's called Lumen TV, and it's already up if you go online and look at it. But we're actually doing a cooking show for them, and we just kind of filmed a sizzle yesterday to kind of start promoting it. And it's everyday cooking with Chef Brad. We're really excited. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun. Yeah.
So repeat the name of the station.
Lumen, Lumin, TV.com. It's like a Netflix, but it's all family-friendly stuff. And we're doing a cooking show to start with, and then next year we're going to probably be doing a children's cooking show, which I'm really excited about. So our children need to be taught. So last week at Education Week, the theme was health and wellness. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, about cooking healthy for our families and how important it is that we feed our family, no matter where we are. It doesn't matter whether if you're in the grandma stage, or it doesn't matter what stage you are in with your family. We have a responsibility to teach proper principles about food and nutrition to our families. And I think, a lot of times we just say, our children just, they want to eat this, they want to eat that. Our children are smarter than we give them credit for. They get it when they're taught. If we just, so often we say, don't eat that, it's not good for you. But how often do we really give them a good reason why it's not good for them? Or really teach them specifically what's happening to their bodies when they eat certain foods? One of my really good friends, and this is a perfect story, they have 8 children, and she was so mad at him for what he did, but he went online and he found a website, and I don't know what it was, but it was a very graphic picture of what your colon looks like when you abuse it. And she walks in and all the children are gathered around the computer and Keith is teaching them, this is what happens when you don't eat properly. And she was so mad at him. She just thought it was just too much for him, too graphic for him. They didn't need to know that kind of stuff until 2 days later. She was standing outside the kitchen and she heard one child say to the other child, are you serious? You're going to eat that after what you saw it did to your colon? And then she was like, wow, okay. Kids get it. Kids really get it. And a few years ago, I told this story before, but it's worth telling. A few years ago, I was teaching a young mother who ate out every meal for their family. I mean, every meal was fast food, garbage food. And I was teaching, it was a group of women out in Queen Creek, Arizona, and they had a club. And I was going out there every weekend teaching for them. And I just kind of asked one day when I found out about this, I asked one of the other women, so what does she do on Sunday? And she said, well, they eat the leftovers from their fast food on Sunday. And so we got to talking, and this woman realized she needed to make a change. So she invited me into her home. And the way I did it with her is, I told her, I said, let me come in your home, interview your children, find out what they want, and I'll create a 3-week recipe book for you that will get you back on track. And she was like, okay. So I went in her home, and she had children, I think like 4 children, 6 and down were their ages. So we had this discussion, we sat down, and we talked about health and nutrition, and simple carbs and complex carbs, and then asked them the type of foods they wanted to eat if their mother started cooking. And so we went through this whole process, and we took notes, and went through the whole thing, and at the end I asked them, I said, so is there anything else I can do for you before I leave? And the children said, Chef Brad, can you please hurry? We want our mom to start cooking for us. It's like, wow, that was a powerful message. But then the story doesn't end there. A few days later, I got a call from the mother, and she said, Chef Brad, I am so mad at you. You have made my life a living blank. I was like, what's going on? And she said, I picked up my kids from school, and we went to drive through the fast food to pick up something to eat. My children were like, Mom, what are you doing? What would Chef Brad think if he knew you were doing this? and then she came home a couple days later, and she said the children had emptied the cupboard, and this was just after a brief discussion with me. They get it. They had emptied the cupboards, and they had separated all the simple carbs from the complex carbs. And they got it. Well, the story ended really well. I got her little book, and I made an interactive cookbook where, with the recipes, each child had a task to get involved in it. And she started cooking for her family, and they are happy. And the last report I got is she's turned into this wonderful gourmet cook, and her family is so happy. Children, they want to see their mothers cooking in the kitchen, and I think about that a lot. It is a horrible task to cook 3 meals a day, 365 days of the year. And it's so horrible that what do? We choose shortcuts. We go, a lot of times, like that woman. She worked full time, she was a designer, her husband worked full time, her hands were full. And in her mind, she didn't feel like she had the time or the knowledge to do what she needed to do for her family. And I call those shortcuts, I call them trap doors. We find easy way out to do the things we should be doing. And so that's kind of my philosophy, is we've got to just get back to, is it hard? Yes. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Our children need, and the other thing about, I kind of laugh about this, but you know what? They really need to see mothers suffering over the stove. They need to see that. What does that teach them? A lot. If mother is slaving over the stove and having to do piles of dishes, when they leave home, they might not get it until they leave home and start raising their family. They're like, wow, my mom did that for me? Because they start to realize finally how hard it is to feed your family, and they start to get it. So I am all about mothers and I had to come to terms with that in my life, and just decide, you know what? It's worth it. Even if I'm up late washing dishes, even if I have to wash all the dishes before I can start cooking dinner, it's really worth it. And how many of you have done that? I'll tell you, with me, it was kind of like this. I work all day cooking, and I'd come home at night, and they would want dinner because my wife doesn't cook. And her excuse is, why should I? You cook. I get that. So she doesn't cook. So I would come home after a long day and they'd want dinner. I didn't have a problem with them wanting dinner, but you know what I had a problem with? I had to clean the kitchen up before I could cook dinner. And it just frustrated me beyond words. I was just so angry all the time because I'd come home and it's like, and I couldn't get it. You know what's going to make me mad? Why don't you just wash the stupid dishes? and then what happens? You fix this meal, and what happens most of the time? Someone is complaining about what you've done, and then when dinner's over, guess what? You have to go back in the kitchen and wash dishes. And it's a horrible task, but you know what? I finally realized one day, it's worth it. And I realized for me, when I step into the kitchen to cook a meal for my family, I am performing the best of Christ-like service, and it totally changed my perception. The service part of it and the part that when I'm cooking at home, I can cook healthier foods for them to keep their bodies strong and healthy. And I don't even care now. Like, I don't care when my son knocks on the door with 15 of his friends at 10:30 at night and wants to eat, because it's just a great thing. And I am all about going the extra mile when it comes to food. Doing those little extra things that really change their lives. And I've learned over the years, I've watched people over the years, things that made the impression on me is where I've seen people go that extra distance to provide something that's meaningful. There's always a trap door. There's always an easy route. I remember a couple years ago, they called me. They were doing a steak youth conference in our state. And at the last minute, the person that was cooking, they couldn't do it. So they called and said, you know what's a short notice? Can you take care of all the food for youth conference? And the steak youth conference was at the steak center, so it wasn't like we were up in the mountains or something. And I said, yeah, no problem. She said, this is our plan. And their plan for Saturday morning was Krispy Kreme donuts. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're gonna bring Krispy Kreme donuts? And I understand it's easy. Kids love donuts. I understand. But my mind is, what are we teaching our youth? And so I said, you know what, why don't we just change that? If we're gonna have donuts, why don't we make them from scratch? Well, that's just a lot of work. And I said, you know what, Sister Larson makes the best donuts in the world. Well, Sister Larson's kind of hard to get along with, and they were afraid to approach her. I said, I'll handle it. So I called Sister Larson up on the phone, and I said, Carol, we have youth conference coming up, and can you imagine what they're feeding the youth? Krispy Kreme donuts. And she went, oh, how horrible. I said, that's just what I thought. That's just what I thought. I said, and Sister Larson, you know what? I told them you would be more than happy to come in and fix donuts for all those youth. And I said, I promise, I'll have everything set up, as all you have to do is bring the recipe and teach the youth how to do it. And she was like, well, absolutely. You know what? That was one of the most amazing experiences. The youth got there early. Oh, and it was all we heard all morning long. This is so much better than Krispy Kreme. It was amazing. It was extra work. But in my mind, what's going to happen now? All those youth were there. In a few years, they're going to be sitting in a meeting, planning a youth conference, and someone's going to say, let's do Krispy Kreme. And they're going to say, why can't we make them ourselves? Because of the experience they had. The reason I wanted to do it is the only fathers and son outing I ever went on when I was a boy, up in the mountains. You know what they had for dessert that night? Fried donuts. Up in the mountains. And I thought, if they could do it in the mountains, I could do it at the steak center. So sometimes we have to just avoid the trap doors of the easy way out and take that extra moment. And it really, honestly, it's cooking healthy for our families. Two things about I've learned. It's cheaper to cook healthy, and it is a lot easier. And it is, if you do it right and learn some basic principles, it's faster. Perfect example, I did the hamburger helper thing one day. I just wanted to know. Everyone, I hate hamburger helper, by the way, but how many people eat hamburger helper? And why do they eat it? It's cheap, it's easy, and they think it tastes great. So I just tried it. I wanted to know, is it cheaper? Is it easier? And does it taste great, really? So I made hamburger helper, and I made hamburger helper from scratch. Hamburger helper, how many of you made hamburger helper before? It takes 12 minutes. You put the pasta in there and you cook it really slow and it absorbs, and by the time you're done, you have this hamburger helper mix. 12 minutes to make hamburger helper. You know how long it takes to make it from scratch? 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And I can make 3 times as much And guess what else about the Hamburger Helper from scratch? It is totally chemical free. Do you realize in that little box of Hamburger Helper what you're buying? 50 chemicals. 50 chemicals are in that little box. You're paying $1.69 for a box of chemicals and 4 ounces of pasta. That's ridiculous. We never think about that way. And the same thing, they have those crock pot meals, or they have all these little meals in boxes. And I've done that, the crock pot meals, they have them, they're like $3.89 or $4 a box. You can make that for probably $1, what they charge you that much. And they're charging you, why do you need all the chemicals when you can buy fresh, good spices and herbs and use fresh ground flour to thicken with that has, and I really don't have a problem with macaroni and cheese at all. I do out of the box. Because if you look on the box, what are you getting? Mostly chemicals. So when I did the Hamburger Helper thing, it was kind of fun. I had my two pans of the Hamburger Helper, and I decided I'm just going to go do a taste test in the neighborhood. My neighbors love me, by the way. Especially when I'm cooking, because I have some neighbors that if I don't care about an opinion, I take it to them. I have other neighbors that if I really want the honest truth, I know where to go, because they are brutally honest with me. And I love that about it. I always hold my breath because I know they're so honest, but I love that. I hate it when you take something to someone and they're like, oh my goodness, this is so good, and then you hear from someone else how horrible it was. It's like, I asked your opinion, just tell me the truth. So anyway, I went around the neighborhood with these plates of Hamburger Helper, and they took a bite, and I have to admit, the Hamburger Helper from the box had this beautiful orange glow to it. Mine was kind of a dull brown, but a dull tan color. And they would take a bite of the Hamburger Helper. You know, the chemicals in there, what are they designed for? To make you think it's good. And they're very high in salts and chemicals that there's a science out there. They pay billions of dollars a year in research to put things in our foods that make us like potato chips. You can't eat just one. Why? Because they have a chemical that makes you want to keep eating more. That's what it's all about. So when they took the first bite of Hamburger Helper, they're like, oh, it tastes okay. And I said, and I didn't tell them which was which. Okay, taste this one. They take a bite. Oh my goodness. And they wanted more. And they just, I did a whole blog on it if you want. It was an amazing experiment for me. It was absolutely amazing. They just convinced us out there we need those faster foods. And you know, the other thing that gets me is things like the frozen lasagnas and frozen meals like that. Read the ingredients. Well, how many ingredients should there be in lasagna? Only like 5 or 6. You look at that and why do they need all those preservatives for something that's in the freezer? I don't get it. But a lot of that stuff is the chemicals that react and make us feel like we need those foods. So when it comes to feeding our families, this is my #1 rule when it comes to feeding our families. Cut out the fast food. And when I say fast food, I don't have a problem eating out, but I do have a problem with things with the fast food chains. I always thought this was an old wives' tale or an urban legend about the McDonald's hamburger. You know, you hear stories where people say they have a hamburger from McDonald's that they've had for 25 years and it still looks perfect. You know what? It is not a falsehood. It is a truth. I was talking to someone the other day, an Olympic gold medalist, and she said her swimming trainer, had one in a box that was 25 years old that looked like it was like 2 days old. What are they putting in that? What is in there to where it was so funny? I was teaching about this last week at Education Week, and this young woman comes up to me afterwards, and she was pretty mad at me. She said, Chef Brad, you just told a bunch of lies about McDonald's. I work for them. And that stuff is not true. I said, are you kidding me? There's nothing you can tell me to convince me. She said, their meat is 100% ground beef. Are you kidding me? Would 100% ground beef stay good for 25 years? Absolutely not. And most of the fast food chains, it's a proven fact, they're 39% or less ground beef. The rest of it is fillers and garbage they put in there. And think about a hamburger bun. A hamburger bun that will last 25 years? I just had a friend told me the other day they went back up to girls' camp and they moved aside something and they found a bag of hot dog buns that they had lost the year before behind the refrigerator. And it was still in perfect shape. They were still perfect. They could have used them. They were still, what is in that would keep, we need to start thinking about that. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I have a naturopathic physician I work with in Arizona. He's amazing. Oh my goodness. He's, in fact, pretty much all the medical stuff or that stuff I know through the years, I have learned from him. He's just amazing. And he knew I was coming up to Education Week. And I told him the topic, and we talked about it a little while, and he said, you know what's interesting? He said, people are coming in now sicker than they've ever been. And he said, you know what is even more interesting? We can trace it directly to chemicals in the foods we're eating. Directly to that. I mean, all the things we're struggling with, obesity and mental disorders and hormone disorders, all of those things, our bodies have no clue what to do with the chemicals in the foods that we're eating. Our bodies just don't know what to do with it. So my number one thing is get away from fast food. And if you're going to go out and eat, this is my rule of thumb, find a place that's passionate about what they're doing, that they make everything from scratch, that they have a scratch kitchen where they're making their breads, or they're getting their breads from a good source. Are there good breads to buy out there? Absolutely. You know my favorite bread place up here is Harmon's. I've had long, in-depth discussions with the bakeries at Harmon's. You know, all the flours they use are pure chemical-free flours. They don't put any garbage in their breads. They're artisan breads that ferment for the 24 hours. They're even better for you because they're digestible, and oh my goodness, I love their breads. You guys all tried their walnut white chocolate bread, or pecan white, is it pecan or walnut? Pecan. Yeah, their pecan white chocolate bread. Holy cow, that bread is, every time I come and try buy it. In fact, I've eaten so much bread this week. Every time I go to Harmon's, I go to my daughter's house with loaves of bread. And we're all bread eaters, and we just eat bread. And I found this thing this year, it's kind of funny, of some friends up in Portland. They have these chocolate sprinkles. They're from Denmark. No, from, is it Denmark or somewhere over there? European chocolate sprinkles. Now you think chocolate sprinkles, we're used to the American ones that are all chemicals and waxy and just these chocolate sprinkles. So I went up there, they taught me this thing about putting butter on your bread and putting these chocolate sprinkles on it. I'm addicted. They're so good. They're so good. You should look into getting some of those in here.
Which ones?
Those European chocolate sprinkles from like Denmark or someplace over there.
Oh,
Oh, they are just amazing. I can show you the brand.
okay.
And they're hard to find, but I know you can get them
I
because
can probably get 'em.
there's a store in Arizona that has them. And so I think I came up here with 15 boxes of them to give as gifts. They're all gone. I should have saved one for today. But it is the best way to eat bread. It's so good. It's so good. So, but anyway, those kind of things, you know what? I know we're talking about eating healthy. Those kind of things are healthy. Really, if you're eating good breads and natural, clean ingredients. Someone just told me they were traveling in Europe and they said, you know what? People over there are generally healthier. You know why? They go to the market every day. They shop fresh and cook fresh. They don't have the processed foods. In fact, you know, I found this thing out about Subway. We all have this thing that Subway is just a better place to eat. You know their bread, they put a chemical in their bread that the rest of the world, and you know Subway, there's more Subways in the world now than McDonald's. Isn't that amazing? The rest of the world outside of the United States will not allow them to put this chemical in their bread because it is cancer causing. It's the same chemical they use to make yoga mats and put in the bottom of tennis shoes. And in America, they put it in their bread because it helps it last longer and they get a bigger yield out of it. But other countries, it is forbidden to use, but they do it in America. So we have, and America, if this says FDA approved, you need to run the other way. The FDA has no standards. It's all about money. It's all about money. I mean, red dye is FDA approved. Really? So if you're going to eat out, find places that feed you good natural food. And there are a lot of those around there, like Indian. A lot of those Indian restaurants, they're passionate about it. They're back there making everything from scratch. And the foods are good and they're just, so find places like that and let them know you appreciate what they're doing and encourage people to eat at those kind of places. And are there great burger places out there? Absolutely. There's burger places that use quality bread and they grind their meat fresh and they're not the patty things. Like, if you ever go down to Las Vegas, go to Bocce Burgers. Oh my goodness, it's one of the best burgers. You pay $8 to $35 for a burger, but it's so worth it. Oh my goodness, it's so worth it. We actually did burgers this weekend in Education Week one night. We took the meat grinder that goes with the Wonder Mix, and we took pork and beef and ground it up with onions and added cooked red quinoa to it. Oh my goodness, talk about a good burger. I love burgers. I just cannot eat McDonald's or Jack in the Box or the chain ones because it's just, and how do you feel when you eat those? You have to really be honest with yourself. You know, most people don't feel good when they eat them, but we keep eating them. So, yeah, anyway. So, fast food, and then the other thing is bringing processed foods in your home. Just don't do it. Just learn how to cook other things where you don't bring the and I know it's easy, and I know, and I'm not saying 100% of the time we have to be realistic, but at least, you know, maybe 10% of your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is where you're eating 80 to 90% of processed foods, you're doing something really wrong. Just kind of turn it around. So we're going to cook some foods that just to give you some ideas of quick and easy things that you can do for your family to keep them healthy. And you know, with that, it's 80-20. That's my principle. 80% nutrition and 20% whatever it takes to get the nutrition down. But on that 20%, I make sure the 20% is healthy, like chocolate sprinkles from Denmark. Those are healthy. Or sour cream, a good quality sour cream. And you know, read the labels. Also, some of those sour creams, they have a whole bunch of ingredients on there. Read the labels of what's in the sour cream. And ranch dressing. My family, I found out if I have ranch dressing on the table, I can get them to eat pretty much anything. But it is not the Hidden Valley garbage. That stuff, next time you taste that, I hope you don't have the opportunity, but next time you taste it, really think about what you're tasting. Every time that goes in my mouth, is all I taste is chemicals. That's all I get, pure chemicals, and that's all it is. You can buy my favorite one is the Penzies. Their powdered ranch dressing mix. It's all natural, completely clean, and you add that to good mayonnaise and buttermilk. There you go. You have a great ranch dressing. Why would you even eat that other stuff? And it lasts, buttermilk and mayonnaise that last in your refrigerator. I cannot buy bottled salad dressings, period. They're just, chemicals just drive me crazy. So let's just, for just a minute before we start cooking, just, are there challenges you're having in feeding your family healthy? What are they?
That's my husband.
Yes.
He doesn't keep everything that's good. I white flour, no vegetables,
Is he healthy?
no,
No. Does he care?
no.
No. Well, there's nothing you do about it if they don't care. Yeah. You know what? Actually, though, I'm just consistent. It took me about 25 years to convert my wife over from white flour to other flours. But sometimes the reason we don't have success is we go from white flour to 100% whole wheat flour. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I use, is what I found, I had to experiment, but I use the Wonder Flour blend. They sell that here. You know what? Anything that I bake in my home that is not yeasted, I use Wonder Flour. Period. Period, across the board. Whether it's a brownie, a cookie, cupcakes, even cakes. Unless, you know, every now and then you want a white flour cake, I will use the flours they sell here that are bromine free if you're using white flour. Make sure you use a chemical-free white flour. Even for gravy, when I did my hamburger helper, what did I use? I used Wonder Flour to thicken it. And you're getting that whole grain in there. So we love cookies and those kind of things in our homes. And I found when I tried whole wheat, my family hated it. And a lot of times, we're from that generation, you and I and some of us in here, where we tried to do that whole wheat thing, and it totally destroyed any hope for health and wellness in our home. Because it was so bad. Remember that the 70s and 80s, how healthy was so horrible? It was absolutely horrible. And to this day, I hate the word health food, because it takes me back to the 70s and 80s where it was just absolutely horrible. And they did the